With his cloak on, I think Robert II says, who knocks on my door at this late hour? And I think with the hood still up and his head down, Lord Shimler was in his 80s, but has this now upright position, his face still shaded, hooded. He says, as he looks up, he says, the Nightwalker. And he peels his hood back, and Bobby sees Lord Shimler. Hey, it's the Chief Bonding with Board Games and RPGs, and I'm doing something different. I'm coming in with a non-live Maze Rats episode. Again, Maze Rats, little pamphlet by Ben Milton, also lives in Wichita, Kansas. Whoop, never met him. So, those that don't know, I'm running a live campaign with, it's solo with co-op is what I'm calling it. And there's folks that are texting in or commenting in and running characters. And here's what happened. In episode 24, yes, it's been growing and organic. Lord Shimler, a character that I've oddly connected to, which has happened before as we're moving through this campaign. He's the head of the City Watch of Windridge. He's head and figure only. He's elderly. He's got some onset dementia, and a demonic figure named Balthazar has basically left him in place. There was a usurping of the city sovereign. So there was a Cain Abel situation. We have an Artoon that was removed by his younger brother, Godwin. And Godwin is in league with this Balthazar, who is some kind of demonic half-breed. And Balthazar, who runs the black market or the underground or the criminal organizations of Windridge, has placed one of his men, known as Gruznak, as head regent. Head regent is right below the Lord of the Watch, which is Shimler. So Lord Shimler's still in place, been there for years, highly, highly respected, honored, a great Lord of the Watch. But he's not mentally there anymore. And Gruznak, who was even a troubled junior watch member when he arrived, he would be a little brutal on city or prisoners, and he took bribes, but he was in place that when Balthazar wanted to, and when Godwin was in charge, he was elevated. Now, in episode 24, feel free to go watch it if you want to get caught up. They're a little long because I'm running them live, so I'll synopsize it here. Basically, Artoon is maneuvering politically to return to his rightful throne, depose his brother. He wants to do it politically, but the City Watch has to be overturned. It's corrupt, and it's where the deadly power lies of Balthazar. There was connections, I won't go into all of them, that brought Lord Shimler to the Raven's Nest, where the rightful Lord or Sovereign Artoon meets with him. And the main characters involved here, which won't be in this episode, basically recognize that Lord Shimler is in a state of dementia. And one of our main characters, Chalita, who's she's aspiring to be a nun, and she has a gift of healing, and she prays while holding Lord Shimler's hands, and the fog of dementia clears. It whisks away, but we rolled to see how long this will last. It will only last 5 days, but as Shimler's eyes clear and he recognizes Artoon, the rightful sovereign, and he's holding the royal robes, he realizes what he needs to do. And as that episode ends, it was a thing that wasn't going to happen on camera. Lord Shimler was going to go and make contact with his loyal heads of the watch. Men that were still in positions of power, probably over different boroughs of Windridge, that he could trust. And I was just going to have that all happen off camera, but I couldn't do it. I was literally driving to work and I'm thinking of Lord Shimler and how he would pull this off and what would happen. And I was like, I've got to insert this in. We're still going to do where I left it, was that when he returns, he's bringing his trusted heads of the watch with him to meet our intrepid heroes to then challenge Balthazar and his demonic ways. That's still going to happen live, but I had to fill in this little chapter. So, Lord Shimler has just finished his meeting. He's told them, I'll be back in one day. So we're going to travel with him in this day. Now, he's addled. He's last seen by Gruznak as, a feeble old man. And he's being propped up. But that's been fixed. The prayer has opened his eyes. I did state there's almost the flowers of Algernon. He doesn't know how long this is going to last. But we know it's only going to last 5 days. But now he sees everything. And he remembers everything. If anything, he's as sharp as he was in his 30s. But he still looks like he's in his 80s. He's going to use that to his advantage. We're going to play this out. So I'm using the Mythic emulator. We'll be using that to answer odds. If Lord Shimler, who's 80, gets in any kind of fight, his mind is right now, and I think he sat more upright as this miracle occurred to him. So Colonel Henning is part of the party. All you need to know, he's the old and dying member of the King's Guard or the Sovereign's Guard. But he has a strength of 1, dex of 0, willpower of 4. This fit. So I'm grabbing his sheet and it's going to stand in for Lord Shimler, who's 40. His willpower of 4 is there. His ability to fight, his strength is only 1 and his dexterity is gone. He's an old man. But he moves now. I mentioned live that the first person he would reach out to was a member of the watch named Bobby. And I hinted that Bobby's father, who would be Robert I, had stood and fought alongside of Lord Shimler. We haven't met him. We don't know anything else. It's assumed he's passed or was killed. But Lord Shimler had looked out and was almost like the uncle of Robert II, who he calls Bobby. And Bobby is still in place. And there's that familiar connection, that love of his best friend's son, that Lord Shimler's going to contact Bobby first. Now, Bobby's still in a position where he's one of the borough heads over the more wealthy aristocratic section. Gruznak, who's the head regent, left Bobby in that position because the wealthy wanted someone they knew and recognized and had that history. But he's not under Gruznak's thumb, other than he could be removed. So Lord Shimler returns to his home, grabs his cloak, and as evening sets in and darkness falls, he has more energy than he's had in decades. He is armed with his traditional sword. He has a dagger, and he has his cloak. And he moves out. Lord Shimler also lives in that upstanding, more aristocratic neighborhood. He's the Lord of the Watch. So I'm not imagining a lot of danger on this first walk, this first connection. We've also established that Gruznak didn't have anybody like spying on or watching directly over Lord Shimler because he's old, he's infirm, he's feeble. However, that can change as we move along. But this first walk is simply to Bobby's house, Robert II. But it's night. So I want to have some odds that something could happen, even if somebody notices, even though his hood is up. I think it's a near sure thing that he's going to arrive at Bobby's door without complication, but we never really know. So I'm going to give it a 90% under Mythic that yes, he will arrive safely, but 40 even. So yes, he arrives. He raps on Robert II's door. And I believe, being the later hour that it is, this is a little odd. And I think as Robert, I'm picturing like he has one of those little mini doors, with the rods that are in there. So it's he's able to pull that open before just opening the door, even though they're in a wealthy district. He opens it up and Robert II, Bobby, just sees a cloaked figure. Now remember, he is the head of the wealthy district's watch. So this seems odd to him, but I would imagine people come to his door on occasion. Now, it crossed my mind, and I don't know where it came from, that Lord Shimler used to have a nickname that nobody would call it to his face, but as he was in his 60s and still clearly had his faculties and was Lord of the Watch, he had trouble sleeping. As many older people do, he would get up, put on his garb, and he would walk the streets at night. And he would check on, different guards of the watch. A lot of the younger guards worked at night. And he would speak with them and hang out with them and maybe even have a coffee or a smoke with them. And the watch nicknamed him Nightwalker. Now, this is what a police watch or a night guard would kind of do, because there's that double entendre. One, he is walking at night, so that's fine. But of course, a night walker is getting close to being like a prostitute that would walk the streets at night. And I think that would be there. As soon as I heard it in my mind, I thought that's clearly what they would call him. Again, kind of behind his back, but not in a bad sort, just as the nickname. Hey, I was visited by the Nightwalker last night. You're kidding me. I've seen him out, but he's never had coffee with me, and the legend kind of grew. So, with his cloak on, I think Robert II says, who knocks on my door at this late hour? And I think with the hood still up and his head down, Lord Shimler was in his 80s, but has this now upright position, his face still shaded, hooded. He says, as he looks up, he says, the Nightwalker. And he peels his hood back, and Bobby sees Lord Shimler. But he's stunned. He doesn't see Lord Shimler of yesterday or even last week. He sees Lord Shimler of 20 years ago, of when Bobby was, on the force, but working his way up as the son of Lord Shimler's best friend. And I think Robert II is like, he kind of gasped a little bit. And Lord Shimler says, would you mind inviting me in, Bobby? And, the door, the little window thing slams, the whatever's on the door, and the door swings open, and come in. And as they come in, I think Robert II's just standing there stunned as he looks at Lord Shimler, but it's almost as if a time warp has occurred, and he's speechless. And Lord Shimler says, do you mind if we sit at the table? And a coffee wouldn't be bad. Harkening back to the Nightwalker of old. And he, of course, and Bobby's wife has awakened, or maybe isn't quite asleep yet, and she kind of comes in, and you hear a gasp from her as she can see Lord Shimler seems transformed. He's no longer the stooped, addled figurehead of the watch. He's what he used to be. Strong, in control, wise, powerful. And I think Bobby just says, I don't know, I'm picturing Adelaide. I don't know why it'd be Adelaide. We already have an Adelaide, but there's another Adelaide. He says, Adelaide, would you mind heating up some coffee? And she says, absolutely. And she begins to busy herself with that. And Bobby pulls out a chair. Robert II pulls out a chair. And Lord Shimler sits and pulls the chair up and looks intently and bids for Bobby to have a seat. Bobby, sit down. I want to discuss something with you. I think Bobby's still stunned. And there's nothing I need to roll for here. I'm going to explain how I'm going to roll for these other heads of the guard in a bit. But Lord Shimler breaks down the conversation he had with the sovereign Artun, and that he's touched the rightful royal robes, and that he was bestowed a gift, a miracle from God, and his mind has been cleared, and his eyes have been opened, and his posture has been returned. And he sees and remembers clearly. It's as if, well, his eyes are wide open. He has seen what's been portrayed, and he says Gruznak is in league with Balthazar. And I think Bobby's like, we've suspected, just the sudden rise of Gruznak is unprecedented. He said he is in league with Balthazar, and Balthazar is demonic. And I think, again, you hear Adelaide, she's slightly terrified by this. And Lord Shimler says Artun is moving for a return to the throne through politics. However, I've been tasked with securing the guard and assisting in the removal of Balthazar and his henchmen, and I need you with me. And Bobby immediately is like, of course, Lord. And Lord Shimler says, who do you trust? I need burrow heads that you can trust completely, so that when we move on Balthazar, we can also restore the watch. Ooh, I like that. So what I've done is Baron Durop, Dungeon Masterpiece, has a quick little chart, a little table that he devised where you just come up with names. So I have Albin, Gideon, Lowell, Kaysen, Jasper, and Maddie. And then under each of them, as you go across the line, it's just who are they and what are they doing. So Albin has a young family, strong fighter. Gideon, old guard, many connections. Lowell, honor-bound, but disappointed in Lord Shimler. Kaysen, great with a sword, but antagonistic. Ooh. Jasper, he's a gambler, and he's in debt to Balthazar. I wanted someone in there that is, there was some talk about one of these guys might not be quite what they believe they are. And Maddie, who's Bobby's son, and loyal to Robert, his father, and a junior, kind of more junior watch member. But someone that you could trust and that would be trusted by these other junior members. So what we're going to do, I plan on only 5 of these being in here, and what's going to happen is I'm going to roll across with different dice so that we're going to get a mix. It's not just going to be straight across the line. So who is in? We will be contacting 6, Maddie. So right off the bat, he says, we have to go to Maddie. But now we got to see. We know he's Bobby's, well, I guess we don't know he's Bobby's son. This is true. The way I set this up, we got to roll again. 6. That worked out good. So he is Bobby's son. That could have ended up being one of the others. Now, is he loyal to Robert, his father? Well, shoot, that's got to be default. You know what? We're going to leave it non-default. Who knows? Maybe he's got another bastard son. Ooh, that's a possibility. Do I roll another 6? No, I roll a 4. So a 4 is going to be, ooh, he's antagonistic. Let me write this down here. So that's a little odd. So I'm going to line through antagonistic, and Maddie and Bobby we have done. So that's the first one in. Who else is in? 1, Albin is in. But what's our second Albin? Ooh, we have 6. Man, there's going to be a lot of Bobby's son. Apparently, young Robert has had some sons, but why wouldn't we connect in with blood first? Okay, hopefully, I will not allow that to be rolled a 3rd time. So we have 2 sons, but what is the negative here? Oh, we rolled antagonistic. We can't, I've already X'd it out. That way we're not getting multiples of that. I rolled 4 again. If I roll 4 a 3rd time, he's also antagonistic. 2, he has connections. That's interesting. I probably should have had a few more. Connections is out. We're going to have Bobby's son is out. So that is number 2. Number 1. Who's the third one? 5. Jasper is in. So we have Jasper. And what is Jasper's deal here? He can't be the son. Ooh, he's got a young family. Okay. So that could mean he's nervous or compromised. What's his third line? 5 is, he's in debt to Balthazar. That could be a problem. Interesting. Who's number 4? See, I'm saying interesting. Yeah, that means I'm loving it. 5. We already have Jasper, so we can't have Jasper again. 1. We already had Albin. Let's just cross out, cross out, cross out. And we'll see 4 is Kaysen. I guess we're going to end up with a default. I'll figure out in a second. And what's with Kaysen? Kaysen is great with a sword. Okay. And what is his issue? 6, loyal to Robert, his father. So I guess we have, this is the bastard that I wanted to have. Bastard, that's funny. Okay, that's fine. I think he would still go with family first. How else do you trust? Bastard son, loyal to Robert. This is supposed to help this be organic, which it is. Interesting. Okay, I'm saying interesting again. All right, let's see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the last one, so we know Kaysen's out. So all we have down is going to be Gideon or Lowell. So I'm going to make Gideon odds. We have evens, so it's going to be Lowell. All right, we have Lowell who's in. And we have great with the sword is gone. So 1, 2, 3. I only have 3, so I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And honor bound. Lowell is honor bound. All right. And then we only have either strong fighter or disappointed in Shimler. So strong fighter is going to be odds. 2 even, of course. Lowell, honor bound, disappointed in Lord Shimler. Perfect. All right. These are the individuals that Robert II, Bobby, and Lord Shimler are going to go make contact with. Now, what's so crazy here, so we're going to have Maddie and Albin are both Bobby's sons. And then, of course, we've got Kaysen. A lot of family going on here. Didn't know it was going to roll that way, but that's fine. So Bobby says we need to get with Maddie. Maddie is going to be Robert II, or Bobby, let's just call Bobby, Bobby's first and eldest son, highest in level. A little antagonistic. I'm not sure what that means, but we'll have to deal with that as we go. So now I think it's going to get a little interesting because these sons, it wouldn't be abnormal for Bobby to go meet with his sons, but he's walking around with a hooded individual at night. And if somebody sees this, of course, Lord Shimler. So I do believe the odds are that maybe what would happen, I guess we'll have to deal with it, randomized. It could be a member of the watch that confronts these two as they move around and start to make their connections. But of course, it could be something, somebody challenging them that's illegal or something. But if it's a member of the watch, remember, we don't know who's in the tank for Balthazar or Gruznak. So we'll have to see how that goes. So I think as we move, it's going to be Bobby and Lord Shimler moving together after they've had their coffee and chalked a little bit. Bobby hasn't been able to talk with his mentor, Lord Shimler, in years. They finish the coffee, and Bobby says, we need to go to Maddie's house. Now, again, we said, I believe Maddie has risen, but he's in a lower borough somewhere. He's in control of a section. Seems like nepotism is in place in Windridge, but who would disagree? But they're going to move here. So I think at this point in time, 2 figures moving at night. Again, I'm not saying it's ultra dangerous, but it could rouse suspicion. I'm going to go with 50% chance that there's some kind of connection. So we'll see what that is. So 50 or below, yes, there's some kind of event or connection that happens. 61, so that's a no. Okay. Bobby and Lord Shimler move to Maddie's house. Lord Shimler's hooded, and he's not walking like Lord Shimler, who had been moving like an aged old man This is a Lord Shimler of his 50s or 60s, and he's upright and he appears strong, yet still hooded. Moving with one of the senior borough guards. So no challenge. They've moved through. Robert II knocks on his son's door. Here's commotion. I think Matty opens the door and says, "Father." And he says, "I need to come in." "Of course, sir, of course." And he lets him in. And he says, "Something's afoot." And what happens, and we have Lord Shimler removing the cloak, and I think the exact same response. You can see that Lord Shimler, or Matty can see that Lord Shimler is different. Now, he's antagonistic. I don't know what that means for now. It could be his personality when they go meet our intrepid heroes. But I think there's little doubt that he would follow his father's lead, and that he knows and probably thought of Lord Shimler a little bit as like a great uncle or a great or a grandfather or something like that. So as soon as he's brought in on the issue in Balthazar, I think Matty's like, this makes sense finally. I finally understand what in the hell is going on. The whole idea that Gruznak has been in a position of power disgusts me. And I think Robert II says, "Oh, me too, but that's about to be fixed." I think they lay out some plans. We're going to have to see. I want to do a lot of this planning with our actual live group. So we'll leave that for the meeting. I'm not sure how that'll go. We just know that this is the situation. I do think Bobby's going to continue moving with Lord Shimler, and they're going to go see Albin, who has connections. So I want to roll because there can still be a confrontation, but we're going to keep the contacts tight. I think who Bobby picks is going to be solid, at least at this point, or solid enough that if they're in the tank, such as Jasper, Bobby wouldn't know this. Robert II wouldn't know this, or he wouldn't have gone to him in the first place. So I won't play out any of that intrigue. That will happen later if it happens. So Albin is, of course, Bobby's son, and he has connections. Now, before we get there, it's going to go just as successful as with Matty. Matty has stayed behind. I don't think there's three people moving, having, father and son out. Well, I don't know. Well, let's ask. 50-50, would Bobby want his son Matty to go with him to Albin's house? 50-50, so 50 or less is a yes. 67, nope. I think he says we need to move light. I don't want to have the whole family out, or I think we will get grabbed up. We can't reveal our hand. Mum's the word, Matty. Mum's the word. I will gather you tomorrow, and we will meet with Sovereign Artoon. And boom, in they go, and off goes Bobby and Lord Shimler to find and meet Albin. So, is there anything? I think we're in a slightly rougher area now. I'm going to say that it's likely that we're going to have some kind of connection. Somebody's going to want to stop us, even if it's just the regular guard. Now, again, Lord Shimler has his hood up. He can't be seen. I think Robert II, Bobby, is moving openly. He's got, his armor on or whatever the watch wears. So, but 75 or less, there's some kind of, we're stopped. 59. All right, so we're stopped. I guess the question is, are we stopped by the guard? I think it's more likely to be the guard. So I'll just go with 75%. We're stopped by the guard. 70. So yes. Had it been above that, it would have been some kind of criminals or something. So somebody in the watch has stopped us. Now, we've got to be suspicious of anybody in the watch. So what I picture is, hold, who goes there? And immediately Robert II announces himself. Robert II, head of the, whatever the borough, whatever. Borough captain, something prominent. I don't know. And I don't think it would be immediate violence. I think Robert II would be well known especially with his family lineage. So is there 50-50? Is there more than one watch guard? 68, no. So there's just this one guard. So he approaches Bobby, and I think he's watching Robert II to this guard. He's a low-level guard. I think he's looking at he doesn't recognize the hooded figure, definitely by posture. He can see he's kind of bladed away so he can't see his face. And the guard says, "Sir, what are you doing out at this hour?" "I'm going to meet Albin, 2 blocks down." And I think the guard is kind of like, yeah, okay, he knows his son lives there. He's clearly dealing with Robert II, but I think he's got to be a little bit like, who's this cloaked figure? So I'm going to just do a tick mark here that we have, something that's odd. And I will roll later on this just to determine, is this reported up the chain, basically, that it's odd? I think it would be, but we'll deal with that later. And I want to see, are there more ticks that would help, Gruznak put together that something's going on. The knock on Albin's door occurs. Of course, he's Bobby's second son, that this young lad has connections. I don't know what that means. We'll again deal with that later. But the reveal happens. Bobby's in. Of course, he's following his older brother Matty and his father with Lord Shimler. The connections are being made, but now we're going to move to Jasper. Jasper has a young family, and he's in debt to Balthazar. So I guess why? Why would, we've got to have some backstory for Jasper, and I think it's just that I would imagine Robert II knows him to be a good guard. He's a good person. He has the gambling problems. He's in debt. Whether or not Bobby knows that, I don't know. But he has a young family. It seems like he would want the right thing for the watch. But again, we're walking. So I'm going to say again, let's just go with 75% chance again. I think at night the watch is out there. You're going to be challenged. And again, it's just Bobby and Lord Shimler. 88, that's a no. Now those are doubles, but they're above the chaos factor of 5, so no random event. So the pair moves through fine. They get to Jasper's house. And I'm not going to replay out each scene because I think they would be extremely similar. You're going to open the door to Robert II. You're going to usher in what ends up being Lord Shimler, who reveals himself to you and has clearly been transformed. And I believe the answer on the spot is going to be, yes, we're with you, even if there is a problem later. So we're going to move to Kaysen. Kaysen is great with a sword, and he's the bastard son of Robert. And I do believe that Lord Shimler, who's now sharp as a tack, says to Bobby, are you sure you want to bring Kaysen in on this? And Bobby, who hasn't had that piercing eye of Lord Shimler in 2 decades, knows exactly what he's talking about. And he says, Lord, he may be my bastard, but he's loyal to me, and he's the best swordsman we've got on the watch. So, and I think Lord Shimler is like, how are Matty and Albin going to be okay with this? He said they've made peace with this over time. I'm not saying they're close, but he's their half-brother, and they recognize that. And he's demonstrated his loyalty to the guard. That's good enough for Lord Shimler. Boom. So they go to Kaysen, and are they going to get there without problem? Do they get to Kaysen's without being contacted? 13. No, it was still a 75% chance. That's a hard no. So I believe what's going to happen here is they're actually not contacted by, well, let's ask. It's either, I'm going to go with 50-50, and it's either going to be someone who we know is kind of a compromised guard or a rougher home guard, city watch. If it's a yes, and if it's a no, I believe then it's going to be someone of a criminal element. So 50 or less, 57. It is not someone from the watch. It's actually brigands. How many brigands? Just one. That should be enough. All right. As they're moving closer to Kayson's block, suddenly from an alley, from the deep shadows, steps a thief or a highwayman. He has his dagger drawn, and he immediately says, "Your money or your life." He's ambushed. Sorry, I went and got water. Thinking he's got some marks that he's ambushing, we're going to do a will roll just to see if our two seasoned city watch guards can flip the tables. Now, they both have a 4. These are seasoned people. So we need to get a 10 to see if they're successful. I'm going to see with Bobby first. 4, 5, 6, plus the 4 is a 10. Yes. Lord Shimler, also a 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, 12. So interesting. I think as the highwayman has made the statement, your money or your lives, Lord Shimler, surprising Bobby, his will was even faster, is clearing his sword quicker than Bobby, who's immediately gone to his sword as well. He hasn't seen this kind of speed from Lord Shimler for at least 20-some years. He's stunned, but he's thrilled all at the same time. And as both blades come out and they move in deadly speed towards their attacker, I'm going to roll that they flipped it. Instead of the highwayman ambushing them, he got way more than he counted on. They passed their will rolls. They're ready. They're better armed. The highwayman just has a dagger. But oddly, Lord Shimler is going to roll, not oddly, he's going to roll first. He spotted this. He's wizened. He's sharp. His mental acuity and his skills, even though he's not as dexterous, he saw this coming probably before the highwayman even made his statement. Rolling with advantage. Woo, 2 6s and a 3. And he's got the +2 attack bonus just from his skills. So 14, this alone we know would be the armor. We can assume, so it'd be 6 for the defense for the highwayman. He's not going to have a shield, but we'll say that he has armor for +1. That's 7. So we're already 7 above, but that's a critical. Double 6s, as my dog barks, is a critical, which means it would double the damage. So I hadn't even figured out what the highwayman's health was, his HP, but it isn't going to be enough to handle that. You're talking 14 damage just from Lord Shimler. And we have to see, we'll see what happens. I think Bobby or Robert II and Lord Shimler are going to skewer him at the same time. But what's Bobby doing? We're going to again go with the +2 on the attack bonus. These guys, they've built up that level of expertise. So what are we doing? We have a 6 and a 3. So we're sitting at 9, 10, 11. Minus the 7 for the defense and the armor is 4. So we've got 4 on top of the critical blow. They are both in, but Lord Shimler's is clearly like straight to the heart. And definitely the decisive blow. This highwayman is down and done before he even realizes who he was up against. And I think Bobby's like, you always were better with the blade than me. This is perfect. And I think Lord Shimler says, I don't know, what does he say? Oh, I think he says, it's nice to be back. That youthful spirit is there. Now they quickly clean off their blades. I don't think they want to linger in the street. They're not looking to call the watch and to report this highwayman. I think they drag him into the alley, throw some refuse over him, and they continue on to Kayson's house. They have to move stealthily. They're not going to report this. They weren't looking for any assistance. And I think the only question is, did anybody see this? Now, it went down so fast, and they disposed of him so quickly, there weren't even a clashing of blades. I think the odds that someone saw this is probably no way. I don't think the highwayman would have been picking a spot where there are a lot of witnesses, but it doesn't mean it's out of the question. 15% or less, it was witnessed. 41, no witnesses. They move on to Kayson's house. Remember, he's great with the sword. He's the bastard son, but loyal to Robert. Same connection is made. Same response. He's in. And I think he's even excited that it's about damn time. They're going to go to one last person. This is Lowell. He's honor bound and he's disappointed in Lord Shimler. So we'll play that out a little bit. I want to know, are they going to get there successfully? I'm going to go back to just 50-50. We've had our main confrontation, but it's possible. So 50 or less, they're going to be confronted. 79, no confrontation. They get to Lowell's house. Robert II knocks. He's allowed in. And as they come in, Lord Shimler lowers his cloak. And of course, Lowell, who's honor bound and disappointed in Lord Shimler, says, well, who in the hell are you? And I think Lord Shimler says, Lord Shimler, and he goes, you've been a shadow of yourself for the last 10 years. What in the hell got into you? Lord Shimler says, the grace of God and a miracle and a young lady named Shalita. He tells the story of the prayer. He explains how the fog was lifted, his eyes were open, and his posture was fixed. He's also explained that the guard has been taken over. I think Lowell says, no shit. Seems a little grungy for honor bound, but it feels like the right answer. And I think he says, so what you tell me is we're about to change all that. And I think Lord Shimler says, absolutely. And he says, about goddamn time. Now, Lord Shimler says, what's the Lord's name, Mr. Lowell? And I think Lowell says, well, it's good to have you back, Lord Shimler. It's good to have you back. I don't think this guy's got a problem. I think he's been on the edge for quite some time. Scene. All right. This is the crew that will be responding to assist our intrepid heroes when we go live this coming weekend. I don't know if it'll be Saturday or Sunday. So look for that. There is a lot of content on this. This is enough to catch you up with what's about to happen. But if you're intrigued at all, please like and subscribe and catch yourself back up with some of the past episodes. I'm trying to do a little Cliff Notes version, but I'm so busy filming new material, I haven't been able to go collapse that and update that. Someday, never fear, someday. Chief, bonding with board games and RPGs. See you guys later. Woo, we're getting ready to have some fun, baby. A lot of fun.